start. Hello and welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Judy Harrison. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for MedDRA, and on behalf of my MSc, I thank our colleagues from the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation co-presenting with us today on the topic of product quality issues. And a few housekeeping items. Liz Thomas will be providing technical support, and we do encourage you to be interactive in this webinar. If you have any questions for me as the MSSO representative, anything MedDRA related, please put your questions in the question pane and then click send. We will address all questions at the end of the webinar. And if you have any specific questions directed to our FDA presenters, please also put them in the question panel. We will collate these and submit them to the FDA, and they may choose to follow up with you via email if appropriate. We will be providing a full copy of the slides after the conclusion of this webinar. They will be posted on the medra.org user groups. We're also recording this webinar so that you or your colleagues can view it at all time. So let's meet our distinguished panelists from the FDA. First of all, Elise Murphy. She's a advisory consultant. She served as scientific advisor and over to you. Currently, team for assess market quality reports.
Judy, we're having some audio issues. It's a bad
I'm going
audio.
Yes, I'm going to stop sharing my webcam because I think that might be interfering.
Okay.
My apologies.
Yep.
Okay, so how is the audio now? Is it a little bit better?
Yes, that's a bit better.
Perfect. So to go back to introducing Elise, currently her team is responsible for assessing post-market quality reports for the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Next up is Steve Thomas. She's a consumer safety officer in the Office of Quality Surveillance, and she reviews and evaluates product quality reports submitted to FDA. She joined CDER in 1997. She holds a medical degree from Peru, and she also has a Master's of Public Health from the Uniformed Services University of Sciences in the US. And lastly, Dr. Kirabel Astigid is a chemist in the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. He has over 5 years of industry experience in analytical methods development. He's been with the agency for the last 2 years and has performed complex field alert report reviews. Kirabel holds a PhD in chemistry and biochemistry from George Mason University. So welcome to our panelists for today. Now a brief overview of the agenda. I will start by providing an overview of the product quality issues terms that are represented in MedDRA and talk about the documentation that's available to support their consistent and accurate use. I'll then transfer over to Elise, who will give an introduction to the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality and talk about its mission. She will also describe the types of post-market reports that office receives. Maria Thomas will then talk about the Field Alert Report Form 3331A. This has garnered a lot of interest in our MedDRA community because this form recommends the use of MedDRA for the submission of product quality issues. Maria will also talk about the integration of product quality issues into the FDA's Adverse Event Reporting Database, FAERS-2. And she'll also provide some practical examples of how to code product quality reports using MedDRA. Lastly, Dr. Karabel Asagid will talk about the manufacturing and laboratory controls concepts in MedDRA, and again provide some practical examples of how to code these. We'll conclude with a brief Q&A session. And now, Liz, if you will, we'll do some polling questions.
Okay, I'm launching the first question.
So if you could just click the relevant button on your screen. From which region are you attending this webinar? North America, Europe, Asia or Oceania, Latin America and the Caribbean, or Africa?
Okay, I'm closing the poll.
Great.
And the results are, Judy, can you read that?
Yes, I can see that. So interestingly, although our focus is on North America, having FDA represented in this webinar, a large proportion are from North America, 36%, but beaten out by Europe, 45%. We have some colleagues attending in Asia or Oceania, late in the evening for you, 14%. Latin America and the Caribbean, 2%, and Africa, 3%. So representing our global user community. And the next question, please, Liz.
Launching the poll.
So we're interested in knowing what type of organization you work for. A pharmaceutical company, a device company, contract research organization, regulatory authority, or other.
Okay, I'm closing the poll. And the results are?
Thank you. As expected, a large representation, 62% from pharmaceutical companies, a smattering of medical device companies, 3%, contract research organizations, 21%, regulatory authorities, 5%. I expect many FDA colleagues are on this webinar, and other 12%. And I think we have one more question for you.
Launching the poll.
Okay, so what is your role or position in your organization? Drug safety, pharmacovigilance, clinical research or operations, product quality, stats, programming, informatics or data management, or other?
And closing the poll and sharing the results.
Thank you. A fairly typical distribution, I think, for our MedDRA MSSO webinars, large representation from drug safety and pharmacovigilance, 77%, clinical research, 9%. Interestingly, product quality. So this is a group of people we probably haven't had a lot of contact with before, so 3%, but welcome to this session. Interestingly, also data management and statistics programming, 14%, and the mysterious other at 7%. So thank you for providing that information for us. I'm now going to switch over to my presentation. I'll be providing an overview of the product quality issues that are in MedDRA. We'll first start out and what is a product quality issue, and then talk about the importance of it. The documentation that I have available will support the accurate and consistent use of these terms in MedDRA, and then I'll browse the demonstration of terms in MedDRA.
We're still having some audio problems. So I don't, just let you know.
Okay. think I've got everything closed down as much as I can. Let me know if it's still causing issues, or I may have to log in again.
Okay.
So product quality issues are defined as abnormalities or non-conformances that may be introduced in any phase of the supply chain. So this includes issues in manufacturing, labeling, packaging, shipping, handling, or storage of the products. It's important to monitor product quality because product quality issues may have implications for patient safety. So
Judy, we're still having some audio problems. Would you like?
Shall I log out?
Yeah, shall we try that?
Okay.
All right. So everybody, thank you for your patience. We're having some audio issues here, and the presentation that Judy is giving is not as clear as we would like. So we're going to wait until she is able to log back in. And I will go mute for a minute.
Hello, Liz. I've logged back on. Is that audio any better?
Yes, that seems to be better. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Just get the slides back up where I stopped. Actually, Liz, if you could make me presenter. Okay. Okay, to resume, and again, apologies for the interruption. We were talking about why it's important to monitor product quality. This is because these issues can have implications for patient safety. So in other words, they can occur with clinical consequences for the patient. Equally, they could occur without any clinical consequences, and the issue might not even be detectable by the user. Now, where we might see quality issues in text and a consequence, or part of a product quality monitoring system. There's also another category of events that are not quality issues per se, but these are consumer preferences. So some dissatisfaction with the product. For example, they could request for a liquid to be provided instead of a dosage form, or instead of a bottle design, they could suggest the manufacturer produce some more easy-to-use blister packs. So although they're not quality issues, they may inform enhancements to the product design and overall influence the benefit-risk profile of the products. Now, the product quality terms have been in MedDRA since version 19.0, and Alyssa and Maria were instrumental in supporting the MedDRA with defining the types of terms, the hierarchy that should be represented. The goal was to support the recording of product quality issues and using a single standardized terminology.
Judy, we're still having problems. It's really very poor today. I don't know why.
Okay. Is it garbled, or is it the volume issue?
It's garbled. It's garbled.
I can try logging back in yet again. I have everything else shut down on my computer and no other things going on. Shall I give it a try?
Yeah.
Or I could call in using my phone.
That might be better. Let's try that.
Yeah. If you could put that, I'll just stop showing my screen at the moment, and I will join you back as soon as possible.
Okay. Again, apologies, everybody. For some reason, the internet is just not cooperating today. We have a few suggestions here with regard to how to solve the audio issues. We have a few suggestions here. One is OneDrive sync can be paused to save on some bandwidth. Okay.
Thanks, Liz. And thank you, everyone, for your patience. We were talking about the introduction of product quality terms in MedDRA, which were added in version 19.0 in March 2016. And Elise and Maria were instrumental in helping the MSSO identify the terms that need to be added and the appropriate hierarchical structure in which to place them. The goal of adding product quality terms to MedDRA was to be able to enable the recording of product quality issues and any associated adverse events using a single standardized terminology. The use of MedDRA enables the consistent coding and retrieval of these concepts. Where we might see product quality terms represented is in the ability to report defects to regulatory authorities. And our FDA colleagues will be talking extensively about that in the remainder of the webinar. And companies might also use these terms in their internal databases to be able to track and trend any quality issues associated with their products. And I go on to talk about the documentation that the MSSO and ICH has produced to be able to support the accurate coding and retrieval of these concepts. Many of you will be familiar with the MedDRA term selection points to consider document, and there is a section 3.28 devoted to product quality issues. It talks about how to code terms with and without any clinical consequences, and also makes the important distinction between product quality issues versus medication errors, and the fact that sometimes product quality issues can lead to medication errors. Maria will be showing some detailed examples of coding, but I'd like to draw your attention to the last example on this table, in which we have a clinical consequence for the patient, that's nasal burning, and the patient noticed that the product appeared cloudy. On further investigation by the manufacturer, they actually found impurities in the product and traced this back to a manufacturing equipment issue. So this shows that while the initial report might focus more on the patient's report of the adverse event and what they observed, further investigation by the manufacturer in a root cause analysis might find out the ultimate cause of that event. Now, more recent guidance that has become available is the Points to Consider companion document. And the latest release is shown here on the support documentation page on the MedDRA website. This is release 2.0, which was released just in the last month. Now, that companion document contains an entirely new section on product quality issues. Our FDA presenters today assisted the Points to Consider working group with authoring and providing the examples in that section. So we're grateful to for their contribution. It's available in English and Japanese. So it covers quality issues for distributed products. So this is not manufacturing issues, but the fully formed final products that are distributed into the clinical use system. There's some background and definitions about product quality issues, and guidance and examples for coding different product quality issue scenarios. It also talks about retrieval strategies. So I'd encourage you to look to that document for even more detailed information than what is in the MedDRA term selection Points to Consider document. Now, as you'll see from this graphic, and I will show you shortly in the browser, that MedDRA contains also terms for manufacturing quality issues. These are manufacturing deviations or non-conformances. And certainly speaking as a regular MedDRA user myself, I'm not very familiar with these. And similarly, product quality experts, while they may understand these concepts, they might not be familiar with MedDRA. So we do encourage you to share knowledge within your organization so that we can employ these terms both on the safety side and on the product quality side to ensure consistent representation and reporting of these important concepts. Now, while we don't have detailed guidance available right now for the manufacturing quality issues, it's just the distributed product quality issues, the PTC working group is developing a new section of the companion document to cover coding examples and general guidelines for how to represent these manufacturing quality issues. We don't have an exact timeline at the moment, but I'm pleased to say that our FDA presenters today, as well as other international experts in this area, will be contributing to that new section. So lastly, I'd just like to wrap up with a quick tour through the browser to familiarize you with where the product quality terms are located in MedDRA. And our FDA presenters will also be providing some deep dives into this area of MedDRA and providing specific coding examples. So you can see my browser now. This is the web-based browser, MedDRA version 23.1. Now, before we go diving into looking at the product issues, I find a very helpful area, since I'm not that familiar with some of these concepts, is to look at the MedDRA concept descriptions. If I click on this button at the top, you can see we have about 85 or so descriptions of various concepts in MedDRA. It explains how to use them. I'm going to skip right down to P for product there. And we will understand that in the context of MedDRA, product can refer to various types of products. So it includes drugs, biologics, vaccines, combination products, devices, dietary supplements, etc. So all different types of products for human use. And here you will also see down here our definition that we've already discussed about what product quality issues are. There's also information about product storage. As we will see, that is going to be important in the context of the new COVID-19 vaccines that are coming out. They have unique storage and shipping issues. Just scrolling up a little bit, and I know FDA colleagues are going to be touching on this, other things related to out-of-specification test results. So this talks about what those are and how to use them. And just to show that some of these product quality issues are not intuitive, one of my favorite terms here that I did not know what it represented was coring. In fact, we have a Medra term, product stopper coring. And this refers to a small piece of the stopper being sheared off when a needle is inserted through the stopper. So do take a look at these concept descriptions if you're unsure about any of the concepts for these product quality issues. I'll now drill down to look at where they are in MedDRA. And here is this 27th SOC. And where we need to look here is this HLGT for product quality, supply, distribution, manufacturing, and quality system issues. We take a quick look down here. One of the things that Maria is going to be talking about are counterfeit products. So let's take a look at the terms that are represented here. I'll just point out a number of characteristics for this particular system organ class. Most of the terms in it solely represent product issues, so they don't have any links to patient safety. So you'll see these red uniaxial terms here, product counterfeit, label counterfeit, and so on. So they only are represented in this SOC for product issues. So it's a nice way that it's pretty much one-stop shopping. All of your product quality issues are going to be found in this one system organ class. But where they do have links to patient safety, in this case, counterfeit product was administered to a patient, you see if I click on this, it is also represented in product administration errors and issues because it was administered to a patient. You'll also notice scattered around here in the product issue SOC that we do have terms for suspected, so suspected counterfeit product. Often at the time of an initial report, you might not know definitively whether it's counterfeit, and it's only on further investigation that you find out that it is a counterfeit. So you can put in the initial report with a report of a suspected counterfeit product. Another area that Maria is going to be looking at is the product contamination and sterility issues. And I'd like to point out here the great granularity that we have at the LLT level. So product contamination physical has contaminations with a whole variety of different substances. So you are encouraged to use the most specific term available. Again, here in the contamination grouping, we have a term for suspected product contamination, and here links to actual patients. So it's a transmission of an infectious agent via a product to a patient. And if we look at where they occur in the hierarchy here, so they have a link to the infections and infestation system organ class. It's always a good idea, if you can't find the term that you want to, always take a look in product quality issues NEC. So a whole variety of issues with products that are not classified in any of the other HLTs. And lastly, because we are in a pandemic, we've recently added some new terms representing product availability and supply issues specific to the pandemic. I will just note up here, and Kiribel will be talking in detail about these 5 HLTs for manufacturing issues. And one key area is going to be the laboratory controls. This is where you find the out of specification test results, and he will be elaborating more on those. So in summary, it's pretty much one-stop shopping for all of your product quality issue needs in the SOC for product issues. And the best way to find the most appropriate LLT for coding is to navigate from the top down, as I have been demonstrating. So with that now, I'd like to pass over to Kiribel, who's going to drive the slides for the FDA presenters. And our first FDA presenter will be Elise Murphy.
Thank you so much.
Control to you.
Thank you so much, Judy. Good morning, all. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are located. My name is Elise Murphy, and as Dr. Harrison indicated, I am the supervisory CSO in the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research at FDA. I'd like to thank her and her team for the opportunity for Maria Thomas and Carabel Assange, for us to, my colleagues and myself, to come and speak with you all regarding product quality issues and MedDRA. Next slide, please. So this morning, our topics are going to center around introduction, basically, of who we are. What is a product quality defect and issue, and why really is it important, the types of connections that should be made between pharmaceutical quality and post-market reports, the connection between MedDRA, of course, and manufacturing in terms of clinical outcomes. And as Dr. Harrison indicated, we'll be speaking a little bit about the field alert reports. We're going to be using the field alert reports as our mechanism for coding. Maria will be speaking about the 3331A form for our field alert reports, MedDRA use, FAERS2 database, and of course the product quality issues and MedDRA coding, and she has several examples. And then Carabel will be providing us with manufacturing quality systems issues and MedDRA and examples as well, and then we will conclude. So in our next slide, pharmaceutical quality. What do we mean? A quality product is any kind that consistently meets the expectations of the user. And of course, drugs are no different. So patients expect safe and effective medicine with every dose they take. And as we define pharmaceutical quality, is assuring every dose is safe and effective, free of contamination and defects. It is what gives patients confidence in their next dose of medicine. And so where are we and who are we in the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality? Well, our office director in our immediate office is Dr. Mike Kopcha. And there are 8 sub-offices within the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Maria, Carabel, and myself, we're located in the Office of Quality Surveillance under Dr. Jennifer McGuire. So what is our overall mission in the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality? It's to ensure that quality medicines are available for the American public. How do we accomplish this? Well, we in OPQ, that is our acronym for pharmaceutical quality, we integrate assessment, inspection, surveillance, we monitor policy and research activities to strengthen the pharmaceutical quality on a global scale. Now, within the Office of Quality Surveillance, we assure that quality medicines are available through signal detection, data analysis, review of the state of quality, and proactive stakeholder and engagement, meaning we do listen to our stakeholders as to the source of the quality of the drugs. So how do we do this? We identify, we document, we analyze, and manage the most accurate information from the inventory of CDER-regulated sites. We look at the sites, and we also look at products. So we are taking in establishment inspection reports as well as the finished dosage form in the supply chain. We assess and understand and communicate the state of quality of regulatory inventory of sites and products as well. And we have developed a comprehensive risk ranking of sites to drive our CDER surveillance and monitoring. We have established new inspection paradigms based on our risk ranking and design training and manage surveillance inspection programs oversight. Now, my team in OQS, we rely on mandated post-market reports from industry to give us an essential overview of how well distributed products are doing in the marketplace. And my team assesses 4 types of product quality reports. We have the field alert reports, biologic product deviation reports, MedWatch reports, and consumer complaints. Now, when I say MedWatch reports, there are 2 types of MedWatch reports that actually come into the agency, and I will give you a little bit clearer view on that in one moment. But what do we define as a drug product quality issue and defect? We consider a product quality defect or issue as a deviation in a distributed drug product. This means that when a drug product differs from the USP compendium for its standard strength, quality, or purity, or if it differs from the NDA, the new drug application, or abbreviated ANDA, it does not meet the test methods, procedures, and acceptance criteria. For us, this is considered a GMP failure, and Carabelle's going to get into a little bit deeper dive when we say GMP failure. So, how do post-market product quality reports, how are they submitted to the agency? Well, for field alert reports and biologic product deviation reports, these are codified in our regulations, and they are a requirement. They are mandated by our agency, and pharmaceutical manufacturers or BLA holders must, or anyone actually in the biologic supply chain, if there is a deviation, it is a requirement that they submit these reports to FDA. Now, as I indicated before, when it comes to product quality MedWatch reports, which we also receive, these are voluntary. However, when the MedWatch reports that come in for adverse events, these are mandated. 15-day reporting, they are also codified in our regulation, and they are required. And all of our reports will go into a database. So the next question for us is, why should post-market quality reports, why are we even taking the time to even consider these post-market reports? Why should post-market product quality deviation reports be standardized using MedDRA terminology? Because in the past, MedDRA terminology was essentially, it's based on the system organ class, as many of you know, and it's clinical. Why should we now be extending this to the manufacturing side? So the reason, when there are product quality deviation reports or incidents, we want to speak the same language as you do within the clinical realm. But it also allows us to make a causal connection or link between any manufacturing defects and clinical outcomes. I was talking to someone and they told me that, drug safety really doesn't communicate with the pharmacovigilance. I was horrified to hear this, because sometimes there is a causal link between the manufacturing of the performance of the drug and how the patient is feeling, and we need to take that into account. Also, lastly, it allows us the ability to assess trends and clusters for potential signals for a particular drug product. So those are the 3 indications as to why we'd want to use MedDRA terminology. So the connection. Let's say you receive a MedWatch report and it says therapeutic, it has been classified as therapeutic effect lacking, or the formulation questioned. Perhaps it could be a manufacturing issue. We may see on this end an out of specification result, dissolution, it may be an assay issue. And so the questions we need to ask ourselves is there any correlation between what the patient is experiencing and the type of manufacturing deviation? How do these deviations in drug product quality affect the patient clinically? So I indicated to you that we receive field alert reports, and even though we receive other post-market reports, we're going to concentrate our efforts today on the field alert reports. And in FDA, we receive field alert reports. They're early warning signal to us. Their early warning signal that there's something that's going wrong with that particular drug product. We receive the field alert reports. The pharmaceutical firms have 3 days to notify us. It can be for a labeling mistake. It can be for some type of bacterial contamination, any type of significant physical or chemical change or deterioration within a drug product, or any failure to meet a specification for that distributed drug product. It must be communicated to the agency within 3 days. So, next slide, please, Carol. So, quality defects. What triggers a field alert report? Any type of quality defect in distributed drug product that will pose a potential health to the public. As I indicated, mislabeling, bacterial contamination, any type of significant chemical, physical, or changes, any product deterioration or failure of one or more distributed batches. And that's one of the keys for us. Distributed batches of drug products to meet specification in the application. And so, my colleague, Dr. Maria Thomas, is going to provide us with product quality issues and MedDRA coding in field alert reports using Form 3331A. Thank you for your time, Maria.
Thanks, Elise. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you may be at this moment. I hope you are safe and healthy during this pandemic. My team and I have been working on this MedDRA project related to product quality issues for several years. Therefore, I am delighted to participate in this MedDRA webinar. Also, I want to give thanks to the MSSO for inviting us. I am grateful for the opportunity to present this topic to you all today. Now, I'm going to talk about product quality issues and MedDRA coding in field alert reports. The Form FDA 3331A for field alert reports was amended on June 15, 2020. 4 fields were added to this form. The first one is the manufacturer control number, which is a unique number that identifies reports, and it is used to link initial to follow-ups and final reports. The second one is the field number 8 for lot number, expiration date, batch size, and consumer complaints on batch. And related to coding, 2 additional fields were added to this form, field number 12 and 13, that I will talk more in the following slides. The Form FDA 3331A is an automated form that uses the functionality of XML to simultaneously submit the information of product quality report to CDER and the Jurisdictional Office of Regulatory Affairs Pharma Division. These new fields, number 12 and number 13, were added, as I mentioned, on June 15, 2020. Field number 12, coded quality issue or defect. We encourage the use of MedDRA terminology, LLTs, to provide the most specific quality issue. Field number 13, reported quality issue, defect, to provide the most specific quality issue for which there is no MedDRA term available. Please note that manufacturers who do not utilize MedDRA codes in field number 12 can report the issue in field number 13, irrespective of the term availability in MedDRA. Next, please. Here we have the instructions for fields 12 and 13. Field number 12 is to provide quality defects terms that most accurately characterize the quality defect described in the narrative field number 11 of the form. As I mentioned, we encourage the use of MedDRA, the LLT. For example, we have out of specifications test results essay. This is an LLT. Field number 13, reported quality issue defect, is to include additional structure information about the quality issue described in the narrative field number 11. Is to include a list of specific quality defects that most accurately characterize the described quality issue for which there is no MedDRA term available. The list may utilize a terminology that is another accepted standard, a verbatim term, or the manufacturer's own terminology. Next slide, please. The FDA depends on many different companies to submit accurate and complete MedDRA LLT coded reports. Inaccurate and or incomplete coding results in delayed, misdirected, or missed quality issues. Inaccurate coding includes the following: missed concept, soft coding issues, unspecified coding. Please note that firms can update the initial LLTs submitted to more appropriate LLTs in a follow-up or final field alert report. Next, please. The FDA uses MedDRA in the following centers: the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research, the Center for Biologic Evaluation and Research, the Center for Food Safety and Applied Nutrition, and the Center for Tobacco Products. Next, please. Now, is MedDRA required by CDER? Pre-marketing, yes, since 2017. However, post-marketing, no, but electronic reporting is mandatory. The safety reporting portal contains a drop-down consists of MedDRA LLTs for submitted to select the event. There is also an option to enter an event in the free text field. In the future, FARs or field alert reports will be submitted electronically through the FDA Product Quality Electronic Portal. Next, please. Currently, the post-market report evaluation in the Office of Quality Surveillance, OQS, and the Office of Surveillance and Epidemiology, OSC, operate independent business processes and use separate legacy databases designed to comply with different data standards. OQS evaluates field alert reports in the Tractor database, while MedWatch reports are processed in the Drug Quality Reporting System database. On the other hand, OSC reviews adverse event reports in the Oracle Event Reporting System database. Next, please. The adverse event reporting system database will be consolidated to combine all databases to provide one system of records to process and analyze reports related to adverse events and drug quality issues. This includes the benefits: improvements in OQS and OSC collaboration, elimination of duplicate reports, data sharing optimization, and efficiency on how post-market reports are evaluated, and identify potential signals of serious quality risk with possible safety concerns. Next, please. So, in the future, field alert reports will be submitted electronically through the first FDA Product Quality Electronic Portal with pre-populated and/or mapping of quality defect codes to MedDRA. Therefore, the product lifecycle reports will be in one database. So, MedDRA allows interface between quality, defects, and adverse events data. We will have the ability to monitor, investigate, follow, search, and issue a signal across pre-market and post-market. These reports need to be coded with the same terminology standard, MedDRA. We will identify potential signals of serious quality risk with possible safety concerns and clinical outcomes that require further assessment. Next, please. Now I'm going to talk about product quality issues and MedDRA coding in field alert reports. It is essential to familiarize with HLGT product quality, supply, distribution, manufacturing, and quality system issues in the 27 SOC product issues to select the most appropriate term. So the problem or the issue is LLT assignment. We encourage the use of MedDRA terminology to provide the most specific LLT in field number 12. Select the current LLT that most accurately characterizes the quality issue described in narrative number 11, field number 11. Use 2 or more LLTs to represent the quality issue if a single LLT is not sufficient. As you know, consistent term selection promotes accuracy. We encourage to document term selection methods and quality assurance procedures. We also encourage to establish their own coding guidelines based on and not conflicted with the ICH MedDRA term selection points to consider and companion document. Also, continuous communication between the safety team and the quality team is recommended. Next, please. This slide shows the 27 SOC product issues. It's a screenshot from the MedDRA browser, version 23.1. As you can see, here we have the HLGT product quality, supply, distribution, manufacturing, and quality system issues. This HLGT contains 13 HLTs, 101 PTs, and 378 LLTs. Because product quality issues may occur at any step of the manufacturing process, the HLTs are related to product quality issues for distributed products and manufacturing issues, such as HLT, counterfeit, falsified, and substandard products, HLT, product contamination and sterility issues, and HLT product quality issues not elsewhere classified, which I will talk more about in the following slides. As I mentioned it before, product quality issues may have a clinical outcome. Therefore, MedDRA is adopted for adverse events and product defect classification. For example, when we classify reported adverse events, the setting of this could be a hospital. However, when we classify reported quality issues or defects, the setting of this could be a manufacturing facility. This slide shows the HLT counterfeit, falsified, and substandard products. This HLT includes terms to classify this type of reports. And here we have the definitions per United States Code regulations, the definition for counterfeit drug, as well as WHO's definitions for counterfeit medicine, substandard products, and falsified medical products. Next slide, please. These HLT counterfeit falsified products contain a total of 5 PTs and 11 LLTs. Next slide, please. Here we have 2 examples. The first one is consumer noted that the drug had a bad odor. Subsequent investigation of the product lot number revealed that the drug was a counterfeit product. So the LLT selected were product counterfeit and product odor abnormal, which are under PT product counterfeit. The second example is the reported event. When inspecting a carton of product from a new supplier, the clinic manager noted that the product branding was different from previous cartons. She suspected that the material was not authentic. So the LLT selected was suspected counterfeit product, and the PT suspected counterfeit product. Next slide, please. Now I'm going to talk about HLT product contamination and sterility issues. This HLT includes terms to classify reports involving contamination and sterility issues, including chemical, bacterial, viral, or foreign material contamination. Next, please. This slide shows a screenshot of this HLT from the MedDRA browser. And as you can see, and also Judy already talked about this, there are several LLTs available. This LLT contains 11 PTs and 45 LLTs. Next, please. Here we have 2 examples related to this HLT. The first one is firm received a complaint reporting that product port was observed black. Customer culture sample and identified contaminant as Staphylococcus. So the LLT selected was product contamination bacterial. Under PT, product contamination microbial. The second example, the reported issue. A consumer reported that while examining the drug provided in an ampule, she noticed that inside there was a piece of glass. So the LLT selected was product contamination glass, which is under PT, product contamination physical. Next, please. Now, HLT product quality issues not elsewhere classified. This HLT includes miscellaneous terms to classify reports involving quality issues that do not fit into other HLDs, such as terms to classify issues related to combination products. Next, please. This slide shows a screenshot of this HLD from the desktop MedDRA browser. And as you can see, there are several PTs and a total of 18 PTs and 53 LLTs are available. Next, please. Here we have two examples. One is the reported issue. Patient complained that a medicated patch did not stick on his skin. The LLT selected was medicinal patch adhesion issue, which is under PT product adhesion issue. Second reported issue is consumer noticed that the dropper tip of a medication was blocked and the drops originated from the air vent on the side of the bottle. So the LLT selected was product dropper tip issue, which is under PT product delivery mechanism issue. This concludes my portion, and now Dr. Kirubel Azegid will be talking about drug product manufacturing and quality system issues.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And thank you, Judy, for the brief introduction. And I was actually surprised to see that 45% of the attendees are from Europe and only 36% were from the US. And it's good to see some people from Africa and Asia as well. So in the last part of this presentation, I will be discussing drug product manufacturing and quality system issues in the context of MedDRA. So drug products. How does FDA define drug products? Generally speaking, drug products are molecules, natural or synthetic or semi-synthetic origins. So the FDA Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, Section 201G defines drugs as articles. Articles recognized in official compendia, such as the United States Pharmacopoeia, USP, the Homeopathic Pharmacopoeia, HP, and the National Formulary, NF. The official compendia is basically a collection of information on the standards of strength, purity, and quality of drugs. It provides concise but detailed enough information about the drugs. So these articles are intended for use in diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, and intended to affect the structure or function of the body. And any supplemental documents or articles intended for the use as a component or as a supplement document of any article described above. So current good manufacturing practices, CGMP legal basis. To assure fundamental quality of drug products, certain rules and regulations need to be followed. The FDA Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, Section 501A2B, states that drugs or devices shall be deemed adulterated if a drug and the methods used or facilities or controls used for in manufacturing, processing, packaging, or holding do not conform to or are operated or administered in a conformity with good current manufacturing practice to assure fundamental quality, drug quality attributes such as safety, identity, strength, quality, and purity. So when we say current it implies that FDA may take or enforce more current approaches when such as deemed feasible or valuable. Good sets the minimum requirements sufficiently or confident in drug quality. Based may be interpreted as too subjective or restrictive, but good sets the minimum requirements. Manufacturing practice includes personnel, process, equipment, records, and reports. This is intended to reduce risk, sets foundation for proactive and preventative behaviors. So why do we need Cgmp? We need Cgmp to make sure that drugs meet fundamental quality attributes such as having the correct ingredients, which is the identity, and drugs do not contain harmful levels of contamination related products such as impurities, have the correct amount of therapeutic strength, and will be as intended, safe and effective, and ultimately quality drug product. So when CGMPs are not followed, FDA can take actions against the firms in such situations. For example, for cause inspections, warning letters, or 483 will be issued. 21 CFR 210 and 211 contain the minimum Cgmp requirements set for drug products. So manufacturing process involves a sequence of steps that are carried out to transform raw material into final finished product. And to carry out the sequences of steps, certain rules and regulations must be followed. And that's where the Cgmp comes into a full picture. For example, I'm showing here a simple schematics of solid dosage form manufacturing process. So starting from the API manufacturing, which is the raw material comes in, and a series of steps take place, mixing the raw material in a reactor. This is a big scale reactor, followed by crystallization, centrifuging, filtration, and drying, and also milling and packaging may be involved. So at this point, quality control test will take place, the first quality control. The API identity will be tested, microbial tests will be done. Then you introduce the excipient, which is the inactive, with the API, which is the active. Then a series of steps take place, weighing, drying, wet granulation, and additional steps such as adding binder, lubricant, milling, and you do a fluid bed drying. Then it goes into sieving. After drying, you want to know how much water has been removed or how much water the drug product retained. So at this point, you do a quality control to loss of drying. Then it goes to blending, then to encapsulating. So after blending, quality control 3 will be done for particle size and blend uniformity. If you are dealing with tablets, there will be a tablet press and coating step involved. And the finished product, once you have the finished product, you'll have a series of analytical testings involved. So the finished product may involve description, ID, identifying the drug product, assay, content uniformity, impurity, dissolution, microbial testing. This tests will involve a number of analytical methods and a number of instrumentations, such as chromatography or spectroscopic techniques. The most common will be HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography, GC, gas chromatography, LCMS, a number of instruments would be involved. So product manufacturing defects can occur at any point. And the defect is basically a deviation of distributed product from the standard is specified in the approved application. Could be the ANDA, NDA, or the official compendia, or any significant chemical, physical, or other changes in the distributed drug product, including microbial and chemical contamination. So for sterile parenteral drug products, injections, the steps will be different. It will still involve mixing, filtration, aseptic filling, lyophilization, freeze drying, and packaging. So the 27th SOC, System Organ Class, the product issue, lists 5 manufacturing-related HLTs, high-level terms. Each HLT contains a number of PTs and LLTs in the hierarchy system. So an appropriate MedDRA code needs to be selected for a product manufacturing issue. Product defect may be caused by a single event or aggravated by manufacturing-related process, or it could be due to the inherent manufacturing process. So we have to be able to identify the issue and assign the appropriate MedDRA codes. So in the next few slides, I will show real case examples related to reported by different firms on field alert reports. So the first HLT is manufacturing facilities and equipment issue. This HLT contains terms related to classifying reports involving physical environment, utilities, and equipment used in the production of drug products. So under this HLT, there are 3 PTs and 8 LLTs. And an example shown here is taken from a real field alert report. The first example is showing that there is a potential, partially reads as, there is a potential for exterior surface exposure due to non-filtered air. So it's a filter issue. So the LLT selected is manufacturing equipment filter issue. So it's a general equipment filter issue. Second example is specific to the HEPA filters. It's a specific type of filters. So the LLT selected in this case is manufacturing equipment high efficiency air filter issue. So I select this example because it shows that there is a specific lower level term that should be assigned for these 2 different cases. The next example is for HLT manufacturing laboratory control issues. Under this HLT high-level term, terms related to laboratory controls and testing issues are included. Test results that fall outside of the specification, OOS, or acceptance criteria established in the applications, or drug master files for the APIs, or official compendia. Also, the HLT includes stability tests, procedures that do not fall into the acceptance criteria. This is the one of the HLTs that contains most LLTs. There are a total of 7 PTs and 49 LLTs for this. So a number of manufacturing issues are included under this HLT. So I chose an example here to show that more than one LLT can be selected for a specific defect. This reported issue is stating that there is an out of specification result for 6 months, 40 degrees Celsius, 75 relative humidity. This is accelerated condition stability testing. For impurity C or related compound, an out of specification result was observed. The specification limit is not more than 0.5%. Observed result is 0.54%. So the LLT selected is manufacturing stability testing, chemical analysis purity issue. This is under PT, manufacturing stability test issue. And another LLT was added to capture that there is an out of specification testing indicating impurity is out of specification. So another LLT under PT out of specification test result was selected. So by choosing two LLTs, we can capture or describe the defect reported fully. So we encourage to use more than one LLT when applicable. The second example is also from the same HLT, manufacturing laboratory control issues. In this case, it's a calibration issue, calibration of an instrument, calibration of different instruments. It could be HPLC system, or it could be simply a pH meter, or it could be a osmometer, or tablet hardness measurement. It could be any instrument. So the reported issue is calibration was outside of the operation range. The LLT selected is manufacturing laboratory control calibration issue, and also included under this HLT are analytical lab standards, reagents used for calibration of an instrument, failing acceptance criteria, such as particle size standards, reagents used to calibrate particle size analyzer, or pH standards, osmolality standards, or other internal standard solutions used for system suitability. All those are covered under HLT manufacturing laboratory control issues, PT manufacturing laboratory control calibration issue. So there are a number of choices for PTs and LLTs, and we have to make sure that we understand the reported issue and select the most suitable LLT. The next one is HLT manufacturing material issues. Under this HLT, the terms related to incoming materials or raw materials, defects related to incoming materials such as API, components of container closure system, and associated tests with these deviations. There are a total of 3 PTs and 22 LLTs under this HLT. The example chosen here is first report issues shows there is a contamination of API material. So the LLT selected is manufacturing active pharmaceutical ingredient contamination. So the contamination is specific to the API material. So the LLT should be specific to the API. The second example is packaging component. The supplier did not use the correct type of resins that is specified by the pharmaceutical company. So there is a discrepancy, or the supplier did not use the approved component for the packaging. So the LLT selected was incoming material contamination, container out of specification. So the container was was out of specification, and this is the correct LLT for that. On this examples, I want to point out that the LLT should be very specific to the problem reported, specifically for the API. And on the next slide, I have the HLT manufacturing production issues. That will be the last HLT under this. So HLT manufacturing production issues includes terms related to failures in establishing, following, controlling, and documenting performance of approved manufacturer processes or procedures, including dosage form production, in-process sampling, and process validation. Under this HLT, there are 19 LLTs and 7 PTs. And an example shown here is, as reported on the field error report, during the internal review, aseptic monitoring activities by some employees were not followed properly. So the LLT selected is inadequate aseptic technique and manufacturing of products. The second example is showing the configuration procedure was not performed for an equipment, in this case, a sterilizer. So the LLT selected is manufacturing process control not followed. So in this examples, the PT and the LLTs are the same. So you will run into some PTs which are exactly the same as the LLTs. So I just want to point that out. Inadequate aseptic technique in manufacturing of product, PT, same thing as LLT. So concluding this presentation, it's very critical to assign appropriate MedDRA codes for product quality defects and field alert reporters. And in order to do that, it's very essential to understand the fundamental aspects of manufacturing process and analytical testings. And FDA depends on a number of firms to submit accurate and complete MedDRA-coded field alert reports. And in order to identify potential signals and trends that are serious quality risks with possible safety concerns and clinical outcomes that may require further assessment, it's important that there is a continuous communication between the safety team and the quality team. So it needs to be a coordinated effort between the quality team and the safety team. And finally, FDA has amended Form 3331A to improve field alert reporters submission process. And the 2 new fields added were Field 12 and Field 13. Field 12 encourages the use of MedDRA terms, LLTs, to provide the most specific quality issue or defect. Field 13 allows to provide the most specific quality issue defect for which there is no MedDRA term available. And this will allow the industry to submit field alert reports electronically with pre-populated MedDRA coding terms through FDA product quality electronic portal. In addition to the field alert reports submitted by the industries, FDA is also relying on voluntary reports provided by the American consumers and clinicians to identify that drug product deviations or events that could have a potential risk or cause harm to the public is reported. And I will conclude my presentation with this, and I would like to thank the MSSO and all the attendees that are online. Thank you. I will pass this to Judy for a Q&A session now.
Thank you very much, Kiribel, and thank you, Elise and Maria, also for your excellent presentations. The timing is good because we have a little time now for a question and answer session. And I was particularly interested to note that with the amended field alert report, that will be pre-populated with MedDRA terms. Clearly, the product quality issues area of MedDRA is very granular, as you've seen, and it is critical that manufacturers choose the most specific and most accurate LLT to represent the reported concept. So users will still have to exercise care in term selection to get the most appropriate term. And it's important to be able to have guides to accurate coding and retrieval. We have the term selection points to consider document, the companion document, which will be updated in the future to include manufacturing terms as well. Now, one of the questions that came in advance, and I was gratified to see so many people from Europe attending, a question is for the European Medicines Agency Defective Product Report. How is MedDRA included? Well, rather than representing the whole of MedDRA in drop-down menus, EMA has chosen to classify the defects at the broad category level using 5 HLPs. And at a more granular level, it has chosen to include defect descriptors of comprising 24 PTs that are linked to those 5 HLPs. Similar to FDA's field alert report form, there's also a defect description field, which allows the entry of free text. So let's take a look in more detail about these pre-populated drop-down menus. And this is taken from a useful procedural guideline document. The URL is there. The HLTs that are represented are firstly manufacturing and laboratory controls issue, product contamination and sterility issues, product label issues, and not shown on this slide are the other 2 HLTs, which are packaging issues and product physical issues. I think as we evolve coding guides in the future, specifically to include additional manufacturing terms, users might use this as a bridge to indicate for some of these MedDRA concepts. The EMA has provided examples of the types of reports that might be linked to those specific preferred terms. So for example, for out of specification test results, we can see formulation issues, impurities, compounding, potency issues. Those are all the types of concepts that would be represented by that one PT. So I hope that has been useful as an overview for what EMA is doing. I would like to invite any questions specific to MedDRA right now that I can address. I see we do have a couple of specific questions directed to our FDA presenters. We will collate those and pass them on, and they will be able to follow up with you in more detail via email. So if any of you have any specific MedDRA questions that I can address for you in the remaining few minutes, please pop them in the questions pane. Maybe something that FDA could potentially address for the benefit of the full audience. When is FAERS 2 coming?
Hi, this is Elise. That's a very good question. We have no specific timeline as of yet. Our hope is that by 2021, at some time that we will be in FAERS, as you know, FAERS is already up and running for the adverse event community of pharmacovigilance. But for the product quality piece, I should say, we are hoping to be in FAERS 2 by next year in 2020. Do we have a definitive date? We do not as of yet.
Thank you very much for addressing that, Elise. We had a number of questions along that line. And I know within the MSSO, as we develop our software tools, you have to be very cautious about putting a definitive date on it. So I'd like to take this opportunity, seeing no additional MedDRA questions coming in, to thank our distinguished FDA panelists today for their excellent and very practically oriented presentations. Not only that, but I'd like to thank them for their continued input and collaboration on the development of the 27th SOC and collaboration with the ICH PTC working group, along with the wider MedDRA community, to develop guidance documents around product quality issues. we're about 4 years into this effort now, and it's really gratifying to see everything come together. We're creating a standardized terminology where we can link product quality issues to clinical outcomes in the support of patient safety. So I'd like to thank you all for attending today. The slide deck will be made available on the MedDRA user groups page on the MedDRA website, along with a recording of this presentation. So I'd like to wish you the best of the rest of the day, and please keep yourself and your family safe in the pandemic. And thank you again for attending.